Good evening. My name is Leo Lakpa. I'm a second year medical student at the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and Public Health, and I'm working with Wisconsin Voices for Recovery to bring you Saturday Night Chat. Saturday Night Chat is a monthly chat that creates a space for people to share their recovery and to show people in and seeking recovery that they are not alone and that recovery is possible. Today, we'll be hearing from Monty. So, first off, Monty, I want to say thank you for doing this interview and sharing your wisdom and experience with others. So let's start off with tell me about what motivated you to do this interview.
Um, Part of the motivation is that because I'm in recovery for a little over 5 years now. Part of the my sponsor always said service work. Do service work, and this is I consider service work to let people know that there is hope and I don't hope and whatever to come their way
Yeah, definitely.
if they decide.
Absolutely. Yeah. And once again, thank you. I mean, I think stuff like this is important to put out there and to have people know they're not alone, to get hope and go, okay, look, I see Monty doing
Right,
this. He's been doing this for 5 years now. It's possible. I can get to that point,
right.
hopefully. So yeah, thank you again. So we're gonna break this up into four parts. The first part, we're gonna talk about just your background. And so
Okay.
briefly, tell me about yourself.
Um, well, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I drank for many years. Married to my husband now we've been together, what, 30, going on 32 years.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Um, our kids are our two dogs, and we got a new cat that we got. So that's my family here at this house. But I grew up with four sisters and my parents, my mom mostly after they divorced. So I had three sisters and my mom that I grew up with as the only boy. So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And now, we're going through the recovery. I'm also started a foundation, the Delmont Phoenix Foundation, for sober living. So that's pretty much me in my nutshell.
Good. Um, do you have a history of alcohol use disorder in your family?
Yes. My dad was an alcoholic. Okay, I always say it's, alcoholism addiction is a self-diagnosed disease. But in my eyes, he was an alcoholic. He was very abusive, not only to my mom, but to us kids. He's a guy that came home one night when I was about 7 or 8, and I was coughing too loud. I had what they called the croup, and he tossed me around into a wall, and I knocked out my two front teeth, and that was my dad.
Yeah.
But thankfully, he did quit drinking after he came back back to Wisconsin from Utah, and there was some trouble there. I remember pulling him off of my sister when he was drinking. He was choking her. I don't know what happened or how it got started, but I remember pulling him off. And before that, what got my parents divorced was he got mad at my mom, and they'd spent all day out picking strawberries, and he took the strainer of strawberries and dumped it on her head, and it started to beat the crap out of her. So I went up to my uncle, and my uncle made me call the cops on my dad.
Tough.
And so so that's the bad stuff. I
Yeah.
did eventually make up with my dad. We were very close. And so yeah, he was a whole lot different after he quit drinking, after the incident with my sister. So he quit drinking, and then I had his brother, my uncle, drank. My grandfather drank, also I heard was abusive. I can't
Yeah.
go there because I don't know. But yeah, but we all eventually, when they all quit drinking, it was a whole lot better for everybody. So that's my history with alcohol. I didn't really start drinking till I was 18. Um, Moved up to Door County and was hanging out with friends. And I don't blame my friends that they drank, and I decided to be part of it. And so I started drinking then. Didn't drink real heavy until I became a bartender down in Green Bay. Um, and once I became a bartender, it was like there was no end to the partying, and so that's my story with alcohol
Yeah.
so
Something
far.
I always think about when I'm hearing people in recovery, like through a podcast, like Shia Buff did a podcast with someone. I don't know if you ever saw it, but he was talking about just his recovery with, I think it was alcohol and other substances. And, you know, he also seemed like he had a rough relationship with his father, and his father might have been somewhat abusive. But the point is, it makes me wonder how much of your family history with alcohol usage do you think contributed to your struggles with alcohol? Do you think they were related, or do you just think that's the context you grew up in, and then you fell into grappling with alcohol through a different path, and just your family putting it on?
Um, I think addiction is in some ways hereditary.
Mm,
Fortunately for me, for my family, I'm the only one that I know of that suffers from, of my siblings
mm,
that suffer from addiction. I, as far as like I said, as far as I know,
yeah.
nobody's ever said anything to me. Um, but I do believe it's hereditary, and I do believe it's partially hereditary, and I do believe it's a partially learned
Mm,
thing too, because you see you see your parents drink, and you think, oh, I'm going to be an adult one day, I can drink then, and
yeah,
so it's a mix of everything, I think.
sure. Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned now the second part of the interview going about, okay, where are you from now? Where were you in regards to alcohol usage? So your first drink was at 18, moved up to Door County, then you became a bartender, and that's when the drinking
Mhm.
really kind of took off. So
Right.
was that learned behavior you saw from your parents amplified by the environment of, oh, I pour drinks and you build rapport with customers, I take a shot, they take a shot. When did it, what kept you drinking then? Right? What was the thing that kept you kind of down that path?
I liked the feeling I was getting. I
Mm,
felt important. I felt funny. I became this other person. I was smart. I was funny. I was, social. I could do just about anything, and I love that feeling. And that I didn't realize that I could still have that feeling without drinking.
mm,
But at the time, hey, I'm drinking. I can party all day long. I can have fun with my friends. I can make new friends every day. Things like that. So
mm. Okay. So the social cachet you were getting from the alcohol was what kind of kept you in it. Would you say
yeah,
that person that was drinking, was that the real you?
no, that person was fake.
How
I
so?
didn't realize it
Yeah.
because I didn't need alcohol to be all that other stuff.
Mm,
I didn't realize it then, but I can be me without alcohol right now. I am me.
mm,
This is what you get. What you see is what you get. I don't have to try to be somebody else. Um, I don't have to, you know, try to earn respect from other people. I don't care if people respect me or not
mm.
anymore. I don't care if they like me or not anymore. Now it finally becomes um, I make my life about me and not what everybody else is doing.
Okay. Yeah. What got you to that point? Right? What got you out of kind of the grips of addiction into this point where you could look back and go, no, this is who I am. This is what I how I think. This is what I believe, and I'm just gonna go out and be me without, you know, alcohol or anything else influencing me.
It started actually started January 12th was my first day sober without any drinking.
Mm,
Um, and what got me there was actually my husband. Um, Not he didn't force me into anything. He didn't tell me to quit drinking, but he had quit the November before, and I seen what kind of person he was becoming, and it was a huge inspiration to me. It just grabbed me by the head and said, "Monty, wake up."
Yeah.
And so, so on January 13th, I went into rehab. Or January 11th was my last drink. And I still remember that to this day, as I walked into the bar and ordered my Corbel 7
Mm.
and sat down, was going to drink. I'm thinking, tomorrow I start recovery. I go into Libertas. I start my, whatever,
Mm.
outpatient. And I took a sip out of it. I remember looking at the glass. I'm like, why the hell am I here?
Mm.
Why am I doing this? Put the glass down and walked out.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So that's what got me there. But that was because I seen what it was doing, the change that my husband was making in himself.
Hmm.
Um, and I wanted that change too.
Wow. And Monty, as I'm listening to you, it's making me think of, the reason why you wanted to do this interview of giving people hope. You're now going to be able to do that same thing for someone else who tunes into this and goes, oh, maybe I should ask myself, why am I taking X, Y, or Z? Maybe I should turn away from it and my life could be better. So I just think that's really powerful, just listening to you talk about how your husband had that impact on you. Now you and I speaking could hopefully have that impact for others. So I think that's huge, and it's definitely um, giving someone out there hope. Hopefully.
Yeah. I remember the first person, I think I was a couple months in.
Mm-hmm.
I just started AA, and I was doing this job for an apartment management company, and I went up. She was moving. Went in to check out her apartment and stuff like that, and we just started talking. And I won't say her name, but she knows who she is, and she will be watching this. Um, she started telling me personal stuff. I started telling her personal stuff about my addiction, and to this day, she is sober. She went to Milwaukee to get clean. She's married, and so that too is another inspiration to me,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
I get to see somebody else go from where I was to where I am and to where I will be.
Oh,
So
that's excellent. Um, what lessons have you learned from grappling with alcohol?
to be me, that's the biggest one. I got to be me. I can't be anybody else. I can't expect anybody else to love me until I love me,
Hmm.
myself. Um, I learned that I wasn't alone. I learned that there was hope out there. There's other people just like me, that had similar and even the same issues that I had growing up. Um, and I got to see what happened with them and how they changed their lives after they quit. And you know, that was the biggest thing, is I wasn't alone. I didn't have to be scared anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. A sense of community helping you through kind of those dark
Right.
times. You mentioned your time in Alcoholics Anonymous. Tell me about the impact that had for you in your recovery.
Oh, I don't think I would have made it if I didn't have AA. But that was my way of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, I went to Libertas for my outpatient.
Okay.
And they started talking to me about AA. One of the gentlemen I was in there with had been going to meetings, so I went with him to a couple. Um, but I still remember my first meeting, going into the 218 here in town, and not wanting to get out of my car. And I just wanted to stay in there, and I was going to drive off. And I'm like, no, I'll go in. I'll go see what it's about. Walk in, and I went to the farthest point away from the door, sat down, and they have these curtains. I forgot what kind they are. They're
Yeah.
a hard plastic. And I
Okay.
leaned back like this, and my head hit them, made a noise, and I felt like everybody's watching me. Oh my God, you know, they
Yeah.
all know why I'm here.
Yeah.
And they went around. They did a first step meeting for me, which was really nice. And it came my turn to talk, and um, I just remember saying, "Oh my God, it's true. I am an alcoholic." Because I heard everybody else's story. I heard my story coming from other people,
Yeah.
and and it just I now became closer to more people in AA than I did at the bars. At the bars, when I quit drinking, I got told I abandoned them, was one person told me. I abandoned them. In AA, I don't have to go to a meeting every time to see these people. If I go in there today and I go in there again in 6 months, they know I'm still there. And
Wow.
I know that they're still there. So I don't feel like I've been abandoned in there. I know more about people because of the honesty of AA, more about them than I do the people even some of my own relatives.
Wow.
So
So it was really, because of how open it was and the shared experience, you were able to build really strong connections with these people over time.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Um, so another thing I'd like to talk about in this interview is stigma. So I'm learning about stigma and kind of how it affects people that I'll be taking care of, but also how the medical field maybe puts stigma onto others. So I would like to know what stigma you've perceived from kind of the medical field with your diagnosis of alcohol use disorder. How have your interactions been with the medical field?
I was suicidal a couple of times. I tried to commit suicide at least 3 times. I went to the hospital and they treated me like I was just some old drunk.
Mm,
Here comes another drunk. What do we got to deal with now? Instead of trying to help me figure out what was going on,
mhm,
they were more. I don't know. I've been in the hospital without being alcohol related, and it
mhm,
seems like to me that they were a lot kinder. But when I came in drunk, and I understand that some drunks are belligerent, I probably was, but the way they talked to me and the way they looked at me, it made me feel like I was this big. I couldn't, no matter what I did, I couldn't have done right because I had been drinking. Um, so it's like they treat me a little bit differently if I'm drinking to where if I'm just a regular patient.
yeah.
And so
Hmm. I'm sorry to hear that, and that can't be easy, and it almost makes you think the next time you need to go to the hospital, you might even have your guard up a little bit, going, "Oh, are they going to treat me, like less than because they see my chart and they go, oh, he has alcohol use disorder. Maybe his symptoms are due to that." So I'm sorry you went through that. Um, that's difficult. And for me as a student, then how should I treat individuals that come in with alcohol or substance use disorder? Like how would you have liked to be interacted with when you came in for
I
suicide ideation?
to be treated as a human, to be asked questions instead of being told, um, to find out what the to help to find out what the underlying issue is. They're not going to pull it out of you when you're drinking,
Mhm,
much of it generally.
mhm,
Um, but when you're sober up before they send you over to Brown County or wherever they're going to send you,
sure.
to talk with somebody. Don't treat them less than human. Treat everybody, no
Yeah.
matter what it is, treat them with respect. And again, like I said, I understand that some people can be really belligerent. Again, probably me. Um, but there's an underlying cause. They got to find out what that underlying cause is, or
Yeah.
try to.
That's great. So, what change then would you want to see in the medical system in regards to stigma towards individuals who use substances?
I would like to see the hospitals get more involved in recovery.
Ooh, how so?
Um, um, right now, like in Green Bay, we don't really have a place for people to detox. If you're alcohol, yes, but if you're detoxing from meth or
Mm,
something like that, there's really no place to go. The hospitals, because I think that is the safest place for them to detox with the medical field, is to have the hospitals be able to get patients in there to help them. I think that for me that would be the biggest one is to help with the detox situation and um, help get them the help that they need to. Okay, are you suicidal? Let's get you this help. Are you an alcoholic? Let's get you this help.
mm,
Don't just say, okay, here you go. Everybody into one bunch and push.
Sure. Yeah. Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. The next part of the stigma talk I'd like to address is okay, so there's stigma in the out group. So, as medical professionals or healthcare workers, we have a stigma towards, individuals who use substances. What about within the group of people who use substances? Is there any stigma amongst people with alcohol use disorder?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Me for one, I could look at somebody and say, well, I don't drink like them. I can't be an alcoholic. They got to be an alcoholic. They're going to die soon because they drink so much. They drink this much hard liquor, this much beer. They're always doing shots. So you project what you're going through onto them, I guess. So you make them the scapegoat for what you're doing. You have an excuse now that I can drink what I want because I'm not like them.
Mm.
I can't be like
Okay, this is interesting. Is there a point then, as you're going through the steps in AA or as you're kind of early on in recovery, where you look at others in AA and say, I'll never get to that point, or at least I'm not as bad as so and so?
that. In AA,
In AA, yeah, when you're in AA. So you have that maybe when you're out at the bars going, okay, that person is drinking way too much. But in AA, is there any stigma there? Is there any kind of comparisons that happen, or is it more of a community where you go, no, we're all on this journey together?
at first, when you're listening to stories, that
Yeah,
does go through your head.
interesting. Okay,
Oh, thank God I didn't do that. Then all of a sudden you hear something
okay,
that you did or
okay.
that affected you the same
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
And that changes your whole perspective. At least it did for me.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, that's something. I guess when just as you were talking, I was thinking, going, I wonder if that happens. But so early on, until you hear your own story spoken back to you, you kind of have that comparison or going, "Ooh, I'm not that bad."
Right.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Wow. Okay. Um, so kind of this next part, where I really want you to just kind of talk as much as you want about these things is kind of now where are you going, right? So you're 5 years now in recovery. You're on this journey, 5 years out. Who are you right now?
Who am I? Um, well, I found my calling, so to say. I started a foundation, the Delmont Phoenix Foundation for Sober Living, and that is me. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life, up till the day I die. I want to be able to help other people. I want, I don't know, I just want to be able to sometimes grab people and just give them a hug, just to say, come on, you are loved. Don't let me love you until you can love yourself.
Yeah,
That's part of our foundation. Um, it's the foundation of our foundation, basically.
yeah,
Um, so where I'm going is there. That's all I need to go.
yeah,
That's where I want to go. That's all I need to do is I want to get to do my calling. It's kind of like a priest that gets called to be a priest.
yeah.
For me, um, I got this calling, and how that happened was a acquaintance of mine who was an employee died January last year,
My condolences.
and he had a fentanyl overdose, a fentanyl poisoning,
Mm,
and for some reason, it really affected me. For 3 days, I cried for no apparent reason, just that I had to cry. I had to be sad. I had to, there's something. And when I was coming out of that, I knew there was something I had to do. And I talked to my husband Dallas, and I said, "This is what I want to do." And with open arms, he said, "Go,
wow,
do it." And and then, like I said, it's become the one thing in my life that matters to me besides family.
wow, wow. And it's given you the sense of hope, right? And a purpose now to
Oh,
give others hope, right?
purpose. That's a great. It gave me a purpose for my life, and that that's exact thing to do. Before, when I was drinking, I didn't have a purpose except to get drunk.
Mm,
I didn't, yeah, I was was considered caring and a nice kid and all that other stuff. Um, but now I actually have a purpose. I know that when I'm gone, there's going to be something there carrying on to help other people.
Wow, wow, that's great. So who else? So you talked about um, the people in AA that have helped you along in your journey of recovery. You briefly mentioned your husband. Is there anyone else who's helped you along your journey of recovery?
My siblings, my parents, um, they've all encouraged me. I still have never told them I would never drink again. I still haven't told myself that
Yeah.
because I go one day at a time. I got to get through today, not tomorrow. And I don't want to disappoint them, and I don't want to disappoint myself. So I don't tell them I've quit drinking forever.
Mm.
I just have to know that I'm not drinking today. So with that, my siblings, people at work, even I talk to them all the time. I get some really close friends, Betsy, Carrie, Terry, who I, probably get sick of me talking about the foundation, about my sobriety and stuff like that, but they let me.
Yeah.
And they encourage me. Same with my siblings and my stepfather. My mom did when she could before she got sick.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think everybody that I meet that has an issue or knows somebody that has an issue with alcohol or drugs, I can learn something from every single one of them.
Hmm.
So it's always an inspiration. You know, how I had to use AA. Some people use medication to get over their addiction. Some people have to do, prayer, several times a day, and it helps them. But that's the way that they do it. So everybody that I meet in recovery or going into recovery has always been an inspiration. Always will be an inspiration.
Wow. It sounds like this active willing to say, okay, right now in this moment, I'm choosing not to. Right?
Right.
It's what it seems like. It seems like it's very incremental. It's very much one step at a time, 1 minute, 1 day, however you want to phrase it. But um,
Yeah.
is that taxing? Because I think about it with me being in school, I have the same mentalities, right? I understand the get up and today I need to do as much studying as I can, right? That's as close as I can come to understanding you. But at times it gets to be taxing where I'm like, man, I don't want to. Do you still have the I don't want to moments, like, or I do want to drink, or I don't want to be sober anymore? Do you ever have those moments creep back in your mind?
Oh yeah. I get that little guy on my shoulder saying, "Hey, nobody. If you go drinking, nobody will know. You can just go buy a bottle somewhere and come home and drink. Nobody will know, except I will know." And that in itself, for me, it would be the biggest disappointment of my life.
Mm.
So, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to let myself down, let alone my families.
Absolutely. And now that you know who you are, that even becomes even of a stronger drive to not drink, right? We go, no, this is who I am, and I'm not gonna let this thing take me over. I'm not gonna let that little guy on my shoulder convince me to do something I know
Yeah,
don't want to do anymore.
right. I in the last year since we started working on the foundation, I used that several times. I can't drink because if I drink, I have to leave my own foundation. I'll lose that.
Hmm.
So I've used I use different excuses like that to not drink.
Wow.
They're not really excuses, but it's
Reasons
different
or
reasons.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you could go back, Monty, here you are today talking in front of me. If you can go back and change anything, would you?
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing, because I would not be who I am today if I didn't have my past.
Oh.
I did bad things. With me and Dallas, we went through our rocky times. We've had, we've hurt each other pretty badly throughout our relationship. Um, and it wasn't like it wasn't one sided. It was both of us. And now actually, I got to say this. This is what he feels. He says, he is the best thing that ever happened to me. He is the inspiration to my soul. That's his quote.
Wow.
But he truly is an inspiration.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't live, I couldn't live my life without him right now. So if I wasn't drinking, I met him in a bar.
Yeah.
If if I wouldn't have been drinking then,
Yeah.
I would have never met him.
Mm.
And I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't be starting working with the foundation. I wouldn't be helping other people get into recovery. Um, yeah, it's just, and then I also have, my board members,
Yeah. Tell me about them.
they, they help me every day too, whether they know it or not,
Yeah.
because, I got people that are working hard to keep their recovery going, and I can't be lazy about mine. So
What would you tell 18-year-old Monty with his buddies about to take that first sip of alcohol?
enjoy it while you can. Um, I would say take it slow.
Hmm.
Don't don't you don't need alcohol to be human anymore.
Hmm.
You're human enough without the alcohol.
Yeah.
You don't need that. Um, but again, that means I'd have to go back and change something, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just I can't.
Can't. Yeah.
I can't.
Okay. What do you tell Monty in 20 years from now? What do you want
I
your
love you
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Hmm.
and thank you.
That's good. Wow. So we talked about sober living. Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to sober living, your board, or anything you guys have planned for the upcoming future?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
I'm working right now with the Mandolin Foundation here in Green Bay. It's also a newer foundation.
Sure.
She's got They've got a woman's sober living home going,
Sure.
and we're working together now to get Green Bay's first um, recovery
Oh,
memorial walk.
okay.
So we got that booked for September.
Exciting.
I'm not going to say where yet because we haven't finalized everything,
Yeah.
but that's what we're working on right now. So, my foundation isn't just here to help people, it's also to help educate people.
Yeah.
So to anybody that I truly believe that almost everybody in Wisconsin knows somebody with an addiction problem, whether it's themselves, their parents, their siblings, their kids. There's everybody knows somebody. It's just you got to know what to look for. Parents and their kids. You know, they don't realize that their kids are getting drugs at school so easily. So they don't think, oh, not my kid. He's not going to do that, or she's not going to do that.
Yeah.
So part of our foundation is here to not part. Our foundation is here to help people and to educate people.
Got it.
So
For the parents out there with children who are struggling, or for children with struggling parents, what should you look for in someone who might have a substance use disorder? Or
I'm
is it
not a
hard?
doctor, but
Yeah.
what I would say is you watch you watch their behavior. Kids are going to change as they grow up. Their behavior is going to change from 10 years old to 13. It's going to be obvious, but there's different changes. There's anger issues. There's if they were ever abused or whatever. They might be using alcohol or drugs to cover that up. So if you know that your kid's been abused, you got to kind of keep an eye and ask some questions. Talk to them. Stop putting computers in front of them and TVs in front of them, and take 5 minutes a day and just talk to them, and just let them know how awful it is to be addicted to something that becomes your life. That's what alcohol became. My life. I could go to the bar and spend $100 on shots and drinks, and then come home and sit by the fire and drink 1.75 liter of Corbel, and then get angry because I ran out.
Mm.
So I don't want to see anybody's kids have to go through that. So just talk to your kids. Call me. I'll talk to your kids. I'll tell them. Call any of the places here in town or in your towns that deal with addiction. Call them, and I'm sure anybody would be willing to talk to them.
Hmm.
And just,
So kind of as we're
sometimes kids don't want to tell their parents everything, but they will tell a stranger.
yeah, it's good. So reach out to, maybe if you're not as a parent able to talk to your child, reach out to someone who might be able to.
Who can? Yeah.
Very good. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, what words of wisdom would you like to leave with the viewers?
Just that there is hope out there. If you have an addiction issue, there is hope, and there is recovery. I will always be an alcoholic in my mind. I know people that say I'm a recovering alcoholic or I'm a recovering addict. That's fine,
Mm.
but to me, I'm always going to be an alcoholic, because if I have that first drink, I'm done. My life is over as I know it now, and that scares the hell out of me. So just, I don't know, listen to your kids, listen to your family. We don't always ask for help in the most direct ways as addicts, but most of the time I think we do ask for help. My suicide attempts, that was a plea for help.
Mm.
You know, driving fast, driving while drinking, I think in its own way is a plea for help, because you don't care if you hurt somebody when you're drunk. Not until you sober up. When you sober up, then you really do care.
Mm.
But when you're drinking, you don't think of that. You don't. I can't. I've done it a million times. I can do it again. Don't. I've told friends here in town, if you're drinking, call me. I don't care what time of day it is. Call me, and if I can be there, I'll come and pick you up and take you home. So just be there for the people going through their addiction recovery. And your recovery starts the moment you think about it. The first moment you think about not wanting to be, you've actually started your recovery. You might not do anything about it for a year, but you started that moment that you first thought about it, that you first thought that you might have a problem. So there is help. Please go get it if you so want it. There is help, and there is hope.
Well, Monty, thank you for taking the time to chat with me and doing the Saturday night chat. I appreciate it. And I wish you all the best with a sober living and getting things done with that, and really being able to help and educate people who are struggling with alcohol use. So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you for having this. Thank you for having this chat for everybody.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I appreciate it.
Yes. So ended here. Thank you again.